And away we go. It's the DFS Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com, also brought to you in part by Yahoo Sports. Check out their DFS offerings every day. Said it before, July's around the corner. That means training camp. That means the NFL is not far away either. You also get Yahoo content on Awesemo.com for free. You get some live streams on Fridays, typically looking at strategy there. And, of course, if you want to be an Awesemo member, Awesemo.com. For more information, use the promo code EARLYBIRD. Dan Strafford, Dave Lochran, along with you on this Wednesday morning. Dave, how the hell are you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Philly's on a 2-game winning streak after getting swept by the Marlins in Philly.
Break them up.
So, maybe they can get something going here. Yankees a little disappointing last night. What do you expect? And,
it was the epitome to me of hashtag baseball, because everyone was talking about how the Yankees were going to crush Clayton Richard, right? Like, it just all made sense. The numbers bared out. So I said in our Slack chat, Clayton Richard gem incoming. Now, wasn't a gem, but what is a 7-7 implied run total before the game started?
7-7.
And
he only struck out one batter too.
Yeah. Oh, there's contact. There's lots of contact, and could have been a lot worse. But it is amazing. The outcomes don't always bear out the way we think they will. That's why we're here, to try to do our best to give you an idea of where we're looking on this early slate. So we're going to look at the 6-game early slate. That is Wednesday afternoon. Reminder, the MLB strategy show will come your way Wednesday morning. You do get the deeper dive and live before lock for the night slate. So we have plenty of content on the free side for you. And then we have projections and articles and all those things behind the paywall throughout the day. So you'll want to get that as well if you're not yet a member. Now, for a short slate, Dave, there's some good pitching matchups here, some high upside for some of our starters. We had German Marquez outside of Coors Field in San Francisco. We have Trevor Bauer at 10-6 against Kansas City. Chris Sale leads us off, though, 11-6 against the Chicago White Sox. Sale has been one of the more dominant pitchers on the season. We got off to a slow start, but we've seen a ton of upside from him. The 51.5 DraftKings point outing with 9 innings pitched a few weeks back against Kansas City. Now he gets a White Sox team that clearly does have a number of strikeouts in it, does have some righty power, but they have some free swingers as well. 22.3% K percentage on the year against lefties for their active roster. That's middling. But do you see the upside here for Sale at this price point, or do you see yourself potentially moving down a little bit and letting Sale go off at 11-6?
I want to know why he's so cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, last game wasn't great against Toronto. It can't be perfect every night. He still had 8 Ks, but he threw a lot of pitches. I mean, you just can't beat this type of production, right? I mean, if Sale goes out there and gives you 45 DraftKings points, you're not surprised. And I think this is the third straight lefty Eduardo Rodriguez, Chris Sale, or David Price, and Chris Sale is the third straight lefty that the White Sox are going to face. Their strikeout rate is not terrible against lefties, but they haven't faced Chris Sale yet, and Price struck out 9 of them on Tuesday with 6 2-run innings. He gave up some hits, but I mean, it was a good outing. Chris Sale's just so much better than both of those guys, and both of those guys are good. So, yeah, just absolutely no reason not to like Chris Sale here. I was being it's a little hyperbolic when I say why is he so cheap, but really when you think of it, if Max Scherzer is going to be 12-4 or whatever, and Lucas Giolito the other day was more expensive than Chris Sale is today. And I think that might have only been like a 7-game slate, but this is a 6-gamer, right? So when you put it all in context, to me, it just gets crazier and crazier. Do you have a run total and a money line on this?
I don't as of yet. I can pull it up, though. I'm surprised he's not 12-4 or higher. Like, that's what I expected pulling up the slate to see, based on, as you're saying, what we've seen from DraftKings on the year, how this is all sort of played out throughout the pricing that we've seen thus far. I still don't know. I haven't looked at offense as of yet if I'm necessarily going to roster Sale, but the price point makes sense. Wow.
354.
I'm seeing minus 390
Oh my God.
An over-under of 9. So that would put what? The White Sox at
Man.
2 something, right?
Well, I'll tell you right now, 3.1 run total for Chicago actually seems a little bit high. And then you have, where are we at? For Boston, 6.1. So 3 full runs higher. Man, baseball's getting out of control, isn't it?
Lots of home runs.
But I think we both agree that, yeah, Chris Sale in this spot right here. Happy to get there.
Trevor Bauer against Kansas City. This is a guy who, the jokes can be made about his social media presence, but he is a roller coaster ride. I don't know that he is amongst the elite. I know a lot of people talked about him as a Cy Young candidate. I think that's legitimate. It's a legitimate take each and every year.
At least.
Right. I think that's going to be his career. I think he's going to be a guy that we can see the pinnacle, we can see the heights, but the lows are going to be pretty low too. The walks are an issue. The efficiency continues to be an issue. He probably throws too many pitches, if you can even imagine that. He just tinkers too much and tries to be too cerebral out there at times. And I think this is a guy that, yes, has all the talent in the world, has a fine matchup, but the blow-ups feel more likely for Bauer than they do for Sale. He's 10-6 here against Kansas City. The Royals have some pop. They obviously have some speed as well on the year. The Royals against righties are down at 20.2%. The numbers I'm looking at, not a ton of power, 175 ISO, 99 WRC plus, so right around the median for the league. They don't walk a ton, 7.5%. Is Bauer in a better spot price-wise for you than Sale, or would you go Sale 1 and Bauer somewhere behind him?
I mean, it's definitely Sale as your number one guy, no question. I like Bauer against Kansas City, but he's not discounted enough from Sale. Like if Sale was 12.4 and Bauer was 9,800, we could really have a discussion here, or even 12.4 and 10.4. But he's $1,000 more expensive. Like, I don't know about you, Dan, but I'm going to run with Sale all day in a spot like this. I think it's a good spot. Kansas City is not a team that offers a ton of power, but Trevor Bauer is just so much more volatile. You don't know when he's going to walk 5 batters or give up multiple home runs. He's got excellent strikeout upside, but it's still not close right now to what Sale has consistently produced on a week in and week out basis. I just don't see any merit to getting to Bauer when you have Sale at a pretty comparable price.
Yep, not that far off. I'll pull up FanDuel in a little bit just to check in there. I do like German Marquez at 10K in San Francisco. I know he has not been the pitcher many had expected, but we know the upside is here. Last time out against the Dodgers in LA, 8 innings, 8 Ks, did give up 1 home run, but 93 pitches through those 8 innings. So the efficiency was there. No walks. Love to see that. Another pitcher who has some problems at times with control and being efficient with his pitches. We can talk at length about how Coors Field affects him and where he might be if he pitched anywhere else, his 81 home games. But we know about this suppression of runs in San Francisco. We know about the San Francisco Giants lineup having struggles on the offensive end. A team that, again, middling when it comes to strikeout percentage, very low on WRC plus, pretty low on ISO. Do you like Marquez more than Bauer, and where would you slot him in the top 3?
I mean, I'm definitely still a big fan of German Marquez, no question. He has a 353 BABIP against righties this year and a 301 xWOBA. He has an 18.7% swinging strike rate against righties too. So, I mean, obviously one of the big things is how many righties are we going to get in this lineup? But I think if you get at least a few, then I'd be willing to hop on board. But once again, Marquez is 10K. I don't think the discount is enough to get there. He's been volatile. He's good, but he gets a good matchup with the Giants in a good park. But he's been volatile, and he hasn't been flashed nearly as much upside. So I would expect to see one, two, three, four or five lefties in the lineup. The fewer lefties, the better for Marquez. That does play into this for me. On the season, he has a 18% K rate against lefties, 30.4% against righties with only 3% walks. So a noticeable difference, huge difference there. That plays a pretty big factor for me when it comes to Herman Marquez. He gets a lot of ground balls. He has a 13.3% swinging strike rate, which on this slate is behind only Paxton and Sale. Good company. I like him. I might even consider him over Bauer, but how do I consider him over Sale? It's just the same theme here. When you're paying a premium, if you're not getting to Sale, you better have a damn good reason.
Yep. I think I'm turning towards that as well. I think ownership will be intriguing here. I think you're right that either Bauer and Marquez are not cheap enough or Sale isn't expensive enough to make it worthwhile on this slate to get away from them. Obviously, roster construction and what offenses we want to use and what bats we want to use. These are a lot of day games after night games, so we may get some strange lineups, some reserves in here, especially from the catcher position. All right, so we have sub 10K. We'll probably go through this pretty quickly, but James Paxton has a pretty good matchup against Toronto. Again, a Blue Jays team that has been top 5 for most of the year in strikeout percentage against lefties. I have them at 25.7%, 7.6 walk rate, WRC plus of 92. ISO, 178, middling or a little bit below middling for the year against lefties. They have some righty power, but not a ton that I fear. Paxton is somebody who has immense upside, has the ability to go out there and put up gigantic numbers, has been a little bit pedestrian over the past few weeks since coming back from injury. He has seen his walks creep up a little bit over those weeks. Any love for Paxton here against Toronto?
Yeah, now we're in business, right? Because if you're not going to Sale, go to Paxton. That's honestly how I see it. You talk about being pedestrian, and I totally agree. Well, pedestrian by Paxton standards. Let's be clear. But so is Trevor Bauer in a lot of situations, right? And so is Herman Marquez. So give me the guy that's significantly cheaper, that faces a Blue Jays team that has a top 5 K rate versus left-handed pitching, that ranks bottom 8 in WOBA and WRC plus versus left-handed pitching. I mean, it all comes into focus when you start looking at these numbers. And like I just mentioned, while Paxton has had some issues, let's look at some of these numbers and you said he can put up gigantic numbers. Exactly. He has a 14.2% swinging strike rate. That's not behind Sale. That's ahead of Sale, who's at 14.1. Paxton struggled at times to throw strikes consistently, 29% called plus swinging strike rate. But when you miss as many bats as he does, it's really not a huge concern for me. He's striking righties out at 30%, lefties out at 31%. At 9K against Toronto, I mean, how are you not considering him the second best option behind Chris Sale? And I think those two guys will be ridiculously chalky, which is fine. There's plenty of ways to go away from that at hitting. And I think Dylan Bundy probably gets some ownership against the Padres as well.
I was going to go there next. I feel like Paxton and Bundy, depending on where you're going offensively, could be a pairing that could work. Bundy, again, another pitcher who has some talent. We've seen it on display, and he's also shown a pretty decent floor this year, which I don't necessarily expect when talking about Dylan Bundy. There haven't been as many absolute blow-ups from him. Last 4 games, he's 10 points or higher from a DraftKings perspective. The walks have been down, maxing out at 2 in the last 6 games, and that's a big deal for Bundy and for any Orioles pitcher where they've struggled with walk rate over the years. Home runs can be a problem. He gave up 2 home runs against Seattle, 1 against Houston, 1 against Texas. But this is, again, a matchup with the San Diego Padres team to talk about strikeout rate, one that has some swing and misses. 26.7%. They lead all major league teams in strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers on the year. 2,100 plate appearances. ISO's there. There's power. We get it. But this seems like an upside spot for Bundy. I'm right there with you on Bundy. Then it gets messy for me. I think Paxton and Bundy might be the pairing I like the most just from a cost perspective. Obviously, I agree with you on Sale getting up there, but Thornton against the Yankees. I can't say I'm a huge fan of. Anybody has opportunity against this Yankee team. Stanton may be out of the lineup, had his hand stepped on or some issue, so you may lose a few strikeouts if Stanton's not in there. Obviously, could give up a long home run to him as well. But you have Thornton, you have Tony Gonsolin. Wow, that is a hell of a headshot, Tony.
Let me see this.
I think he delivered me a pizza last night.
Oh, wow. Who does that remind me of?
Spicoli from but it's so to point out, it looks like he's going to be making an abbreviated
Are you talking about Fast Times?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That doesn't look like
no, I just the feel of him.
Yeah. No, there's someone that's I don't know. Someone in the cartel, maybe?
So he's making an abbreviated start in his major league debut against the Diamondbacks. That's getting, according to Ken Gurnick of MLB.com. So we're not going to get a ton from Gonsolin. And then you have Junis, Samardzija, Matt Strahm, Reynaldo Lopez, who we've seen some flashes from. And then our final starter on the slate, Taylor Clark, has been pretty poor on the year. 6.48 ERA, 1.56 whip. Not a ton of Ks, and has been a bit of a punching bag there for Arizona. What do you got the rest of the way? Any of these names intriguing, or do we turn over to looking at the offenses and start talking about stacks?
Yeah, so let's just go with our clear no way in hell guys.
Yeah.
Thornton against the Yankees, Reynaldo Lopez against Boston, Taylor Clark against Dodgers. They have implied totals of 6-3, 6-1, and 5-6 respectively. Now, look, totals aren't everything. Right now, the Padres are at 5-5 against Bundy, which I find pretty wild. I'd still consider Dylan Bundy in tournaments. And I think that'll probably lower his ownership quite a bit. But Clark and Lopez and Thornton, not only are they tough matchups, but they're against teams that aren't going to give you strikeouts even if they don't produce runs, right? Even if they don't manufacture runs. Clayton Richard, a perfect example, 1 strikeout, gave up 3 runs, I think all solo shots across 6 innings with 1 strikeout. I don't see Clark, Lopez, or Thornton doing any better. So I think the only guy, and he has struggled recently, but the only other guy I'd probably look to, and no, I don't think it's going to be Samardzija here, but the only other one would probably be Matt Strahm, because the Orioles aren't good. He's striking righties out at 22%, which is serviceable enough. Not a lot of walks whatsoever. And he's allowing – look, the funny thing is power's been an issue, similarly to Bieber against lefties. Very low WOBA, 296. His whip is a 1.00 against righties. It's a 1 even. Those are good numbers, but then a 216 ISO and 1.8 home runs per 9. I mean, outside of Mancini and maybe like Renato Nunez, there aren't that many strikeouts. There isn't much power in this lineup. And it's a Baltimore team that is not going to produce very solid numbers. They rank bottom 6 in weighted on base average. They're 157 ISO against lefties. Ranks, let's see, it is bottom 10. And they're 89 WRC plus. My guess is like bottom 5. Let's see. Yep, it is. No, okay, sorry. It's 7th, but you get the point. Here's the big thing. They strike out 25.4% of their time on the active roster. That is the 6th highest mark in the league. They have no speed on the base paths. They have a 6% walk rate, which is garbage. Strahm would be the guy, and I think even though he has struggled and labored through some of these starts, which have come against Milwaukee, brutal, at Colorado, brutal, Miami, no excuses there, fella, at Yankees, Arizona, at Dodgers, at Atlanta, at Washington. He's had some tough goes, right? And this is not one of them. If you're paying down, $6K for Matt Strahm seems like the play. I'd take him over, say, Jeff Samardzija. Although if you wanted to roll the dice on Samardzija, if he's low owned, he'd be the only other guy. Not to say I'm excited about that at all. Strahm would still be the number 1. Samardzija would be a distant number 2. But outside of that, there's nobody else down here that you can consider.
Makes a ton of sense to me. Let's quickly turn our attention to the stacks that are most intriguing. You made mention already of some of these team totals. I would assume Arizona is going to be pretty popular here. If the Dodgers, I know the Dodgers bullpen is pretty good, but if they're going to a bullpen game that early on, you could get do you have Arizona's implied total?
So the Arizona Diamondbacks are at this is Gonsolin, right?
Yes.
4.6.
Huh. Seems low. But I guess
Well,
maybe
Dodgers just have a lot of good relievers.
yeah, it'd be crazy to see. I wonder how abbreviated this is going to be. And now Gurnick says it's an abbreviated start, but is that 4 innings or is that 2 innings? And I think that makes a world of difference there on how into the potential underbelly of that bullpen we can get. But that's fair. I think you made mention of the Boston line. You made mention of the Yankees line. There will be stacks that are pretty popular. Any slate they're on. Where else do you see yourself going? Could the Indians be in the mix, or I guess the Dodgers also will be pretty high up there?
Obviously, the Yankees, number one. Thornton's worse against lefties, but they just have so much power. Boston against Ronaldo Lopez is probably my number one, but I really like the Dodgers too. I know we talked about it, but I mean, the Dodgers against Taylor Clark, that's a really, really friendly spot. Taylor Clark has done nothing to suggest that he is a capable or competent pitcher at the major league level. Lefties this season, he's faced 87 of them. He has a 4.16 WOBA, 3.19 ISO, and 2.6 home runs per nine with a 6.79 xFIP. Brutal numbers there. He's going to go up against a boatload of good left-handed hitters. What an awful spot this is for Taylor Clark. And, Cody Bellinger's expensive, but outside of that, these guys aren't that pricey. Muncy's $5K, but Jock Peterson's 47. Verdugo, if he's in the lineup, 42. Just looking at the lefties, sure, you can play any of them. But most of these guys are playable for sure. So Dodgers, for me, are definitely in a spot that they should be able to excel at. And I'll just throw this out there as a contrarian type stack. They're too expensive, but if they're like 0% owned, which is very possible, like aggregate ownership on the Padres, Dylan Bundy does give up a lot of home runs to righties. And if it's just one of those days where he's off, you're probably going to get good numbers and you're going to get it at very low ownership. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
Makes sense to me. As always, you find Dave's writing Monday, Wednesday, Friday over on Osmo.com. That is the deep dive that will continue throughout the summer and into the fall. We do have football planning going on, so be ready for that over at Osmo.com. And, of course, you find Dave on Twitter at Lofty_D. Find myself at Dan Strafford, and it's at Osmo_com for the website. As I said, you get the MLB strategy show in the morning. Then you get this slate. Obviously, the projections will be up, ownership and lineup builder and all the different things that Osmo offers behind the paywall. Then you get the deeper dive at 5 p.m., and then you get live before lock before the night slate. And then we turn it over again to Emac and Adam Thursday morning right here on none other than the DFS Early Bird presented by Osmo.com.